this question may be a little dated since we're way into the work from home era of COVID. But when people were making that mad rush to work from home, and this WFH is now going to be a new acronym that we're all going to know now. In that, how did you advise people to keep their employees safe from a security standpoint, knowing they don't control those home networks? Sometimes they don't control those home PCs, and yet firms like yourself are still being asked to keep my security front and center. I know that had to be a big topic for you last year.
Well, it's becoming a regular topic. Last year, it was a mad rush. This big push. We had clients, one call center client that had 300 in-house call center people pushed out to work from home in about 2 weeks. He picked up some huge, the firm picked up some huge contracts. They grew crazy last year. Mm-hmm. But in those quick pushes, and not this firm, but others, we saw investments into Microsoft 365, but lower licensing them probably was necessary. The full security wasn't turned on. The network that my employee was working on was, here in my home, I had 2 sons at Miami University that were here. In the summer, I had a son who had an internship in Manhattan here. And then you have all the neighborhood kids on the network. And so most people went and kind of pushed home and used the consumer-oriented networks. Some of them didn't have the money to invest in the VPN technology that they needed to. And so the advice was really along the lines of, let's inform the employee what the expectation is out at home in the field, and how that they can protect themselves. Some of that safe surfing, safe computer use, but some of it's information handling. Mm-hmm. Suddenly I'm printing confidential information, or I've got it on my monitor at home. How do I protect that? Not that you don't want to trust your family, but that leakage can happen. So what are safe habits? And then as we've been testing people, we've really tried to motivate firms that have pushed out, whether it's a pen test or a risk assessment, to evaluate that new attack surface. And so we really recommend that companies, if they have a new setup that might be Doug or Gary sitting at home remotely working, are you testing what that remote worker can see and gain access to into the corporate network? Or are you testing the strength and resiliency of that endpoint? Because that's your attack surface. And unfortunately, that's the piece that we've not seen enough. The awareness piece is relatively inexpensive, and we're seeing a lot of that, but we're not seeing as much testing as we would like. And unfortunately, a lot of these quick hits where we've pushed out, they're here to stay. Mm-hmm. And so every incident response that we had last year, we were working with firms that had an event, involved this new work from home environment. The attack vector was the remote worker. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, you either test it with a vendor or a partner, test it yourself, or somebody might test it for you. And on that day, it's not a report you get, but an event to manage. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing a lot of those incidents coming from those environments that weren't tested and weren't properly secured. And they're going to stay, Gary. You read all the polls out there about people. But a lot of people just don't want to go back to work at all, which I don't think is a tenable situation. I miss my coworkers. Mm-hmm. The collaboration that occurs in an office when you're surrounded with smart people is more difficult doing these kind of meetings. Mm-hmm. Now I'm more productive in the morning when I'm by myself to get through the big frogs that I want to get taken care of that day. But a balanced work from home situation, I think, is what we're facing in the future. And a lot of these work from home environments are not properly secured.
And I think that culture component you mentioned before, if I'm in a work from home environment, how do I maintain my culture? And culture is the key to a lot of company success.
I think that the culture in public accounting, which it's culture in a technology firm versus a public accounting firm is dramatically different. And I love the culture at GBQ, but it was a work hard, I won't say play hard, I guess I just did, but it's a very social culture. And a lot of that's gone away because you can't, you can't socialize. The gatherings are coming back. And I think we're going to slowly see a return to some of that. But,
Mhm.
when you bonded with people outside of your team and in other teams through social events, and met with vendors or met with clients or partners over a meal breaking bread, that's gone away. And it's difficult when you lose some of those things to kind of maintain the culture virtually. And I think we're going to all have we're out of the technology realm now and into the people realm, but we're all going to have some cultural resetting to do, to either find the things that we want to stay from this last 15 months,
Mhm.
find the things that we really miss that were valuable to us from the past, and blend that together and return to, I hate the term new normal, but to return to something similar to what we had in 2019, but better, because we've adopted. I think the ideal is we take the things that we adapted with and adopt those for the future, and have this hybrid model that works for whatever the culture is.